Hey guys, Rachel and Dustin Parker here with the Parker Group for Parker Group Live. Today we wanted to go through a really common question that we get from sellers and buyers alike. But we want to talk more specifically about the seller side today. People of course always want to know, when I go to sell my house, obviously I'll sell at a certain price, but how much money should I be planning to pay out for closing costs, whether that be realtor fees, inspections, attorney fees, how much of that proceeds will go towards that. So we thought we'd talk a little bit about that, and Dustin's going to go through some of those numbers for you.
So when you go to sell your house, so much of the process is negotiable, and that gets back to, again, price, repairs, real estate commissions. All of these things, at some point are negotiable throughout that process. But as a typical example, when you're selling your house, some things to keep in mind that are going to be expenses to you most of the time as the seller are first your transfer tax. So in the state of Delaware, we have a 3% transfer tax, which is actually quite a bit higher than some of the other states throughout the country. But that 3% is cut in half. So the sellers typically pay half of it and the buyers pay for half of it. Now, if you're lucky enough to sell your home to a first-time home buyer, then that cost even gets cut in half from there. So you pay 0.75% basically of the transfer tax in that case. But typically it's going to be 1.5% of the sales price is what you'll pay in transfer tax. Of course, you'll pay your realtor's commission to the listing brokerage, and that's whatever you negotiate with your realtor depending on who you have it listed with. You pay for typically the septic inspection. So the state of Delaware now requires that you have your septic inspected when selling your home. That inspection is good for 3 years, so if you get it done even just prior to listing, that's okay, because most of the time if your home's going to sell within 3 years, and if not, you may want to think about changing something up. So a septic inspection can range in price. Typically we're seeing for the septic to be inspected and pumped, it could be anywhere between $400 and $600 or $700 depending on who you go with, and you do have the freedom to choose whoever you want to do that, as long as they are licensed to perform that inspection. Beyond that, if you live in the lower part of the state, so Sussex County or Kent County, typically what's customary is that the seller pays for deed preparation, and this is usually anywhere between $200 and $300 or $350 depending on your attorney and or the closing attorney and their expenses there. Now, if you live in Newcastle County, what's customary is that the buyers pay for that deed preparation. But again, this is negotiable and something that you can negotiate in your contract when you are selling your home. So again, the four big expenses that you need to consider when selling are first, the transfer tax, which is most commonly going to be 1.5% of the sales price, the real estate brokerage's commission, your septic inspection and pumping, and then the deed preparation if you're in the lower part of the state. Now, if you're a buyer, your closing costs are going to be a little bit different because you're not paying a realtor's commission. So that can bring your closing costs down significantly, but you do, of course, still have to pay for your transfer tax, you have to pay for attorney fees, title insurance, and then any inspections that you want as the buyer. Now, your lender may have some other fees as well, depending on which lender you go with, but we can certainly help answer those questions for you if you do have further questions about that. But just some things to consider when you're buying or selling a home, that there are expenses to doing those things. So if you have specific questions, please let us know or comment below, and we'd be happy to answer them for you.
Thanks so much, guys. Have a great Monday.
Thanks.